I've been in the kitchen, whipping up the grits, and I've been really cooking true. Cutting off the dead ends, warming up my blessings, cooking up the perfect soup. Cause God been really speaking, and I've been really seeing, I'm your manifesting proof. I've been cooking up some blessings for me, cooking up some blessings for me.
Hi everyone, and welcome to In the Kitchen with Halifax Public Libraries. I'm back again, your host here, and sous chef to our chef Leon Hamilton. Thank you, Leon, for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So we're going to do some kitchen recipes all the way from the African Nova Scotia kitchen. And you've sent them in, so follow along with your cookbook. And these are great, hearty, traditional recipes.
Absolutely.
And today, what are we cooking today?
Today, we're going to do, as you said, a nice hearty dish. We're going to have pork chops, roasted potatoes, and some nice sauteed, simmered collard greens on the side. And we're going to finish all of that with a fresh pan rosemary gravy.
Rosemary gravy?
Rosemary gravy.
Oh, no,
absolutely,
that's new.
yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
so you got my attention.
Okay. The
So what do we
rosemary
do
is
first?
really going to enhance to give the gravy a nice aroma. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get our collard greens on the go, as well as our roasted potatoes. So for the roasted potatoes, these ones here where we are working with some white potatoes, you can totally use your favorite ones if you prefer russet, especially where the potatoes are going to be baked.
Right.
Russet is a great option to use for that. Personally, I just grabbed those ones because they was the cheapest, and everything is getting ridiculously expensive these days. So
that's a good
I went with the white potatoes, still gonna have a great flavor to them. So we're gonna need to preheat our oven to 400 degrees.
Do we need a cutting board?
Yes, we should set up a cutting board.
Okay.
You're absolutely right. But before we set up the cutting board, Nicole, what I want to do is lay down a damp dishcloth on top of or underneath of the cutting board. So right on the counter. That way it's going to prevent our cutting board from slipping and sliding on the counter while we're trying to cut on top of it.
Okay, so there's
Very good
three
safety.
cutting board colors here. Which one should I go and grab for you?
We're going to start with vegetables. So this time we'll go with the blue.
Blue?
Yeah,
Okay.
and we'll use the red cutting board for when we're working with the raw pork chops later on.
Okay.
I'm gonna grab my chef knife here, and we're gonna start with the potatoes. Thank you, Nicole, so much for giving these a rinse and a quick wipe down. What I'm gonna do here is just cut off any eyes or any blemishes that might be on the potato, anything that we don't wanna eat. I'm just gonna cut the eyes off, anything unsightly like that. For this recipe, I would recommend using 4 to 5 potatoes. If you're cooking for a family of 4, my rule of thumb or my general rule is to just go with a medium-sized potato for each person. So about the size, I don't have big hands, so I would say about the size of your fist, being that one there. So we're gonna go about 4 or 5 potatoes to feed the 4 or 5 people that we have in this room as well.
Okay, that sounds good.
And that should do. So this one here, I got all the blemishes cut off. That one was pretty easy. So what I'm gonna do is I got a nice flat surface right there already cut off. So that's what I'm gonna lay down on the cutting board. That way it will be super safe and it's not gonna roll or slide underneath from where I'm trying to cut. So I'm just gonna cut that potato right in half from there. There are several ways that we could cut the roasted potatoes. We could either cut them into wedges. Honestly, we could cut them into fries as well to kind of like make like a home fry meal. But this time,
What are you doing today?
today, I'll just go with a straight cube
Okay.
for the roasted potatoes, okay? Not
These are a little kind of thick, but they'll cook through, right?
Absolutely, they will cook through. These, if I cut them at this size here, probably about the size of a thumb tip. Those ones there, 25 minutes to a half hour, which would be right on par with the same amount of time that we're gonna end up simmering the collard greens for.
These are like a tater size, right?
Those are like a tater size. I would classify this as a large dice. As a
Okay.
large or an extra large dice is what we're going for.
Okay.
Okay, that we're gonna need to season the potatoes with. I just got some olive oil here that we're gonna toss the potatoes in, as well as some oregano, paprika, salt and pepper, and garlic powder.
Garlic powder. Okay.
So now that Nicole
Yep.
has the potatoes already cut, look fantastic, thank you so much. I'm just gonna drizzle about 1.5 tablespoons, 2 tablespoons maximum of oil on there. I just want enough so that the potatoes won't be dry. Want to get a nice shine on the potatoes. So yeah, that's probably about closer to 2.
Okay.
Exactly. And now that that's on there, we're gonna start with our seasoning. So with the potatoes, we're gonna go 1 teaspoon of dried oregano.
Follow your recipe. I mean, some people know how to eye it, but you know, the recipe's in the book, so go ahead and follow
Yeah,
it.
absolutely, yeah. So we got our dried oregano in there. Next, we're gonna go with 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika, if you don't mind, Nicole.
Yeah, I sure can.
And I'll grab the other stuff.
So we're
Get
doing
that
full
handy.
teaspoons?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Absolutely, it's really gonna help with the
Color.
flavor and the
Color,
color.
yeah.
Exactly, yes. If you can get your hands on some smoked paprika for this recipe, you won't regret it, I promise you. Regular paprika, it's okay, but if you really want to level up this recipe a bit, try and find some smoked paprika. I promise you,
Good
it
punch.
is worth
Good
it.
punch to the bowl.
Absolutely, very great for aromatics.
Okay.
Okay. Next, we're gonna go with a teaspoon, of garlic powder. This one here is garlic salt, which
Okay.
will work as well. I would just recommend using a little bit less salt that is
Okay.
in the recipe instead of using the half a teaspoon. That way we can keep it down on our salt content because we are working with pork
That's right.
as well, which is naturally
that too
salty.
much?
No, that's great. Now we're gonna go with about a half a teaspoon of pepper. Yep.
I remember this.
There you go. It's tough to get it
Good?
out of those ones. Yep, that should do.
Okay.
Okay. And with the salt, I want to dial it back to about a 1/4 teaspoon because of the garlic salt that's in there. So we'll stop there because there's going to be salt through all of the components of this recipe. And now that we have all of our spices in there, we're just
Okay.
going to,
How are you? You're flicking your wrist?
that's all that motion right there. So
Okay,
I'm bringing
flick the rest.
everything to the front of the bowl
And flip
and
it
then
back.
tossing it to the back of the bowl. And hopefully not on the counter or our cutting
Doing a good job.
Absolutely.
Oh, look at that
So there-
coating.
Exactly. So that's the coating right there that is gonna give it that tater look
Right,
that you,
okay,
that you
yeah.
were hoping for as
Yeah.
well, right? Coat the potatoes with a little bit of oil and it will help all of the spices to stick to it. And then that will be the almost end result. But that right there, that's exactly
That
what I
looks
was hoping
good.
for. So
Nice color.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
What I would recommend before putting these in the oven is getting a large baking sheet. What we want is enough space so that the potatoes will not be sitting on top of each other. If you want your potatoes to cook evenly and to cook quickly, give them a lot of space to hang out in the oven. Oops, let me move the bowl
right.
out the way so I can show you
Air
what I mean.
circulation, right?
Exactly, absolutely. It's all about airflow. Even if you happen to have a convection oven that has a fan in there,
Right, yeah.
if you want the potatoes to cook evenly so that they all have a great browning to them and that some of them won't be soft and not be browned at all,
Right.
space them out. Spread them out like that. Don't have them sitting on top of one another. So
Okay.
if you have to use a bigger pan, I would recommend using a bigger pan. So, got the sink here. I'm gonna give the collard greens a good rinse. Make sure to get any dirt or grit and also any kind of bugs and insects
Right.
that might be hiding in the leaves. Always
I have
something.
a story about that. We will not share on
Okay. Oh, okay. I can't wait to hear that
Oh
one.
my gosh. Well, almost a Kuna Matata. Let's put it that way.
What we're gonna do here is, I'll grab.
Butcher knife?
Yeah, I'll grab it's a veg cleaver actually, a
sorry.
vegetable cleaver. That's okay. A butcher's knife is definitely more firmer than this.
Yeah.
And bigger as well. So this one here, more comfortable, lightweight.
Lightweight.
The blade is way more pliable where you can bend
yeah.
it. But if it was a meat cleaver, you don't want any bending at all.
Want it
You want the
break through all that bone and
exactly.
grit, yeah.
Whereas this knife doesn't have full tang as well. And what I mean by that is the blade actually stops right around there, maybe even less for a blade of this quality.
Okay.
But this one here, very comfortable handle, very easy to put an edge on it, and the edge stays sharp for a very long time
Are we
as well.
discarding these or saving these?
Those ones we'll discard.
Okay.
We'll get rid of the stem as well. That way it will take less time for it to cook as
Yeah.
well. So what I want to do, even when I'm removing the stem from the leaves here, is use what I refer to as the eagle claw.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is when I'm cooking with my kids at home, they have the habit of keeping the food in place just like that with their whole hand. Absolute number one mistake you do when handling a knife. So what I tend to do is teach them the eagle claw. Use your fingertips
Right, get
to
everything
hold,
out of the way.
to hold the food in
Yeah.
place, and then that way you keep your fingertips on your fingers and not in your food. Okay, so even with the collard greens right here, something super simple, but practicing the eagle claw technique is the best way to go to remain safe in the kitchen.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Just
you.
like that. So I think we're
getting there?
we're getting there.
Okay.
We're actually gonna slice the onion. I as well want the onion to be somewhat visible in the finished product. So instead of dicing it up, what I wanna do is cut it into somewhat thick strips as well. That way, even by the time it simmers for, a half hour or so,
Right.
the onion will still be recognizable.
Okay.
So I'll start with the garlic, peel the skin off, peel the ends off. If you have a garlic press, by all means, feel free to use a garlic press. I tend not to keep too many gadgets around. So what I'm gonna do for the garlic, it could just be a rough chop. I have 3 garlic cloves here. If you have 2 or if you're not a big fan of garlic, you can totally just use 2. But for me, garlic, almost everything that I cook with. So I'm pretty sure I only had 2 in the recipe, but I'm using 3 just cause. So I'm going to follow the natural ribs that the onion has in itself this time. You can, if you totally want to cut them half moons or cut them that way, by all means, it's really just a preference thing. But personally, for how I'm feeling today, I'm gonna go that route, using the eagle claw. Exactly.
I like it.
In the eagle claw, cutting the onions into some nice thick strips. Okay, if they're a little bit thicker than that, please don't worry about it. It is a-okay. Now,
Oh, you're gonna put them right in there?
what I actually want to do, Nicole,
Yeah.
is I want to sweat the onions
okay,
and
yes.
the garlic just a little bit
Okay,
before
before-
adding
yep.
the collard greens
Yep.
to it. So
That's a
that
good
was
idea.
that was my bad for putting the collard greens in there first.
Do you want me to get another bowl?
No, this will do just fine. They will not be
Okay.
hanging there long. I'm also going to add about 2 tablespoons of oil to this pan as well. Yeah, absolutely. Just enough to cover the bottom of the pot. And it seems like an excessive amount of pot for this little bit of garlic and onions, but these collard greens need that space to start out with, and then they are going to shrink down a lot. So even though it seems like an excessive amount now, it makes sense at first, but we're gonna end up with a lot of excess space in the pot, but it's totally the best approach to have with this. While that is going, what we can do is get the rest of the spices that we're gonna add to
Okay.
this together.
And you want them in one pot again?
Yep, we
Or-
can do that right in that dish right there that you
Okay.
have as well. So
Again, follow your recipes and make sure everything is measured out appropriately. So that way, everything tastes the way you want it to.
absolutely. As the collard greens start to cook and as they start to reduce in size, depending on how thin or thick your pot is, you may end up adding more chicken broth to that, or
Am I
even
adding
water.
that now or waiting?
No, we're gonna add that after
Okay,
the greens
right?
go in.
Okay.
First things first, now we got a nice hot pot of oil. So what we're gonna do now is add our garlic and onions, because that is the best way to start any recipe, anything that you're doing on a
right.
stovetop. If you're doing a soup, if you're doing some kind of sauce and it has garlic, onion, or celery in it, do yourself a favor, always start by sauteing those first, even if it is just like a quick, 1.5, 2 minutes. You will not regret it. Just the aroma alone, just those being in
I
there for
can
that
smell it.
5 seconds. It's amazing, and that flavor will really help to enhance your finished dish.
And the thing I was going to say is that even if you don't have any spices around, if you're not in your own kitchen, that alone will season and give lots of flavor.
Absolutely, yeah. Now, the reason I don't have salt listed in this is because of the chicken
Right.
broth. If we were using just straight water, we probably
Would
want to
add the
add some
salt.
salt to it, but with the chicken broth, where it already has seasoning and a salt content in it, I'm trying to be wary of that because we're working with pork and we're going to be
right.
adding salt to the potatoes and to the gravy and stuff like that as well. Not everything has to have a ton of salt in it.
Yeah.
Trying to create some balance within the dish, so we're gonna omit the salt from this because it's already some in the chicken broth.
Okay.
We're gonna use this guy here as our presentation pork chop that we're
Okay.
gonna keep whole. We'll lay that there. The tongs, we'll use those. I want some of the onions to be visible, like on top, like that. And once again, this is exactly why I wanted the collard greens to have a thick chop to them, or a thick
It
cut to
bulks them up.
Exactly, so it helps to keep their shape when they're on the plate. Just
Okay.
like that.
That's good.
Okay, and then we can finish the plate with gravy over over the meat, maybe to the back of the potatoes, just like that, not to cover the entire thing.
Right.
We put all that work into putting a nice sear on the, show your work, right?
Yeah.
Super important, you gotta show your work.
With some, just enough to have with every bite, but at home, I smother that
Everything,
bad boy.
yeah, absolutely.
I can't even lie, I smother that bad boy because the gravy, and when it's done right, that's what you really want.
100%.
That's what you really want, right? Yeah.
100%.
It looks delicious.
So there we go, folks. Seared pork chops, roasted potatoes, sauteed collard greens, and a fresh rosemary gravy to finish. I hope you all enjoy. Thank you so much, Nicole. This was super fun.
Listen, compliments of the chef, Leon, who has been our great chef today. And again, see you on the next video. Don't forget to send in your videos and your pictures.
I've been in the kitchen, whipping up the grits, and I've been really cooking true. Cutting off the dead ends, warming up my blessings, cooking up the perfect soup. Cause God can really speaking, and I'm really seeing how you're manifesting proof. I've been cooking up some blessings for me, cooking up some blessings for me.